Greg, we're sat here praising Barcelona, and yet they lost. I guess that's a good indicator of just the gap between these two teams.
But it's what Real Madrid do, isn't it? And what they've done this season, even though they're top of the league, looks like it's going to be a two-horse race with Sevilla. But it's what they do. They give you chances. But if you don't take those, if you don't kill them off, they'll come back and they'll bite you. And they don't look to dominate teams in general. They look to be compact, and then they look to use their experience and their pace on the counter-attack. And when you have those players up front, like they have, they'll punish you. So I'm not surprised the way the game went. I mean, it ebbed and flowed at times and as it went on. But I think from Barcelona's perspective, to piggyback off what the boys were saying, I think when you see all these players coming back, I would be more encouraged about finishing in the top four. I think a few weeks ago I was looking at them thinking, whoa, I mean, that could even be a long shot. But when you look at, Frankie de Jong had to go off, but you look at Depay come back, Pedri back,
Ansu Fati
back. All these players coming back. I think it was a mistake to start Ferran Torres. I don't think it was fair on him, because I don't think he was ever going to be fit enough, and it looked that way. Yeah, he got some game time, but I think it's a little bit unfair to come in with the expectation on his shoulders and go straight into a Clásico when you've not played for the length of time he has. But yeah, it's a defeat, but they played well, they were competitive, and I think both managers will be somewhat satisfied with what they saw.
Ale, you agree with what Craig's saying from the Real Madrid perspective? You think Ancelotti will be satisfied with the performance today?
I think Ancelotti and Real Madrid are advancing, and that's about as much as you can say regarding what they did or didn't do today. Look, I was surprised at times, even though we expected Barcelona to have a lot of the ball, I was surprised at times at how much difficulty Real Madrid had hanging on to the ball with real quality of possession. It was also surprising to see how much Barcelona was willing to not only press Real Madrid higher up the field, but to have runners coming out of the midfield, something that they haven't done with the consistency that you would expect since Xavi has taken over. So Frankie de Jong running past Luke de Jong, or Ansu Fati coming from behind, or Pedri coming from behind, or Gavi coming from behind. All of that movement coming out of the midfield was forcing Modric and Casemiro and Toni Kroos to defend. And what you saw at times is that when they have to defend, when you force Real Madrid to defend in those sort of areas, they look old, man. They look like they have difficulties covering those spaces. And so that's why they almost feel forced to get behind the ball and say, you know what, let's just force a turnover in a good area, and from there, let's give it to these guys, to Vinicius and Benzema and Asensio, and let them transition the ball forward, because we can't do it. And certainly, if we're going to have to account for the runs coming out of the midfield from Barcelona, we cannot cover this ground any longer. And that's sometimes the part that concerns me about Real Madrid, is that midfield, as good as they are when they're in control of the game, when they lose control of that game, when they lose control of the ball, at times you're going to see those legs that are no longer as dynamic as they once were. So Real Madrid lost control of the midfield. They did not dominate that part of the game. And then they became a counter-attacking team, which, hey, it's the way that they're going to beat teams and win games, so be it. But you have good enough players there to where you can impose some of your possession. I don't think Real Madrid did enough of that.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.